The stars stretched endlessly through the view screen as the U.S. Intrepid cruised silently through the void. Commander Jack Harris stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the distant points of light. After 3 months in deep space, the exploration mission had been uneventful. That was about to change. "Commander, I'm picking up an unusual energy signature," said Linda Cole, the ship's sensor officer. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel. "It's not matching anything in our database." Jack moved closer to her station. "Origin. Approximately 2 light minutes from our position. It just appeared." Jack nodded and pressed the comm button on his chair. "All senior officers to the bridge. We may have first contact situation." Within minutes, the bridge filled with the Intrepid's leadership team. Science Officer Ben Ward took his station next to Linda and studied the readings. "Definitely artificial," Ben said. "The energy pattern suggests advanced propulsion, possibly faster than light capability. The vessel, if that's what it is holding position." Jack took a deep breath. Humanity had theorized about alien life for centuries, but despite all their exploration, they had yet to encounter another intelligent species. Until now, perhaps. "Standard first contact protocols," Jack ordered. "Open all communication channels and broadcast our greeting package." Communications Officer Diane Fisher nodded. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, sir." The bridge fell silent as everyone watched the view screen. Minutes stretched by with no response. "They're scanning us," Ben suddenly announced. "Very thorough scan, penetrating our hull." Jack frowned. "Is it harmful?" "No, sir. Just invasive. They're looking at everything. Our technology, structural composition." Ben paused, eyebrows rising. "They seem particularly interested in our life signs." A sudden alert chimed from Linda's station. "The vessel is moving, sir. It's approaching us at 1/4 light speed." "Maintain position," Jack said calmly. "Let's not spook them with sudden movements." The view screen shifted as the ship's computer tracked the approaching vessel. Soon, a sleek, silver craft came into view. It had no obvious windows, weapons, or engine ports. Just a smooth, almost organic shape that reflected the starlight. "It's beautiful," Diane whispered. "They're slowing down," Linda reported, "holding position at 50,000 kilometers." Ben straightened suddenly. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission. It appears to be a visual communication attempt." "On screen," Jack ordered. The view screen flickered, and the bridge crew saw their first alien. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. Its head was slightly larger than a human's with no visible hair. 4 dark eyes blinked independently at them. What might have been a mouth moved. "Translation program running," Diane said. "But it needs more input to establish linguistic parameters." Jack stepped forward. "I am Commander Jack Harris of the United Earth ship Intrepid. We come in peace and friendship." The alien's head tilted. Its mouth moved again, producing sounds the ship's computer couldn't yet translate. "They're scanning us again," Ben said, more focused on our biological signatures now. The alien's 4 eyes suddenly widened. It turned to speak to someone off-screen, its movements becoming more rapid. "Their ship is powering up some kind of transmission array," Linda warned. "They're broadcasting something, not at us, but outward, into deep space." On the screen, the alien turned back to face them. Its expression was impossible to read, but something in its posture had changed. "I think it's afraid," Ben said quietly. Without warning, the transmission cut off. The alien ship's engines flared brightly. "They're leaving," Linda exclaimed, accelerating to faster than light speed. In seconds, the alien vessel vanished from both visual sensors and scanners. "What just happened?" Diane asked, bewildered. Jack stared at the empty space where the alien had been. "They ran away," he said slowly. "After scanning us, they ran away." "Sir," Ben's voice was thoughtful. "That transmission they sent, it was directed toward the core of the galaxy. Based on the signal strength, it was meant to travel very far. A distress call, Jack wondered. Or a warning, Ben said quietly. Jack returned to his chair and pressed the comm button. Harris to Earth Central Command. We've made first contact with an alien species. Sending all data now. Request instructions. He paused, looking again at the empty stars. And you might want to prepare the diplomatic court. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. 6 months had passed since the U.S. Intrepid's strange encounter. Captain Sam Murphy stood at the window of his quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Goodwill, staring at the massive space station that loomed ahead. The structure was unlike anything humans had built, a sprawling collection of rings and spires that glittered against the darkness of space. "Captain, the delegation is assembled in the conference room," said a voice from the door. Sam turned to see Maria Lopez, Earth's top diplomat for this mission. Her dark hair was pulled back neatly, her expression serious. "Thanks, Maria." "Nervous?" Sam asked. She smiled slightly. "We're about to meet representatives from 27 alien civilizations that we didn't know existed until 2 weeks ago. Nervous doesn't begin to cover it." Sam nodded and followed her through the corridors of the ship. In the conference room, Dr. Alex Crawford was reviewing data on a tablet. The scientist looked up as they entered. "Ready for this, Doc?" Sam asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Alex replied. "This coalition of sentient species has existed for over 300 years, according to the data they sent. All this time, they've been watching us." The invitation had arrived unexpectedly, a signal picked up by Earth's deep space array. The message had been simple. Earth was invited to send representatives to Harmony Station for a galactic summit. It was signed by something called the Coalition Council. An hour later, the human delegation boarded a shuttle to the station. As they approached the docking bay, Sam noticed the unusual design of the other ships already docked, some organic-looking, others geometric, but all clearly alien. "Different designs for different biologies," Alex murmured. "Fascinating." When the airlock opened, they were met by a tall, willowy being with silver skin and large almond-shaped eyes. It, or rather she, according to their translator, introduced herself as Ilara, the summit coordinator. "Welcome to Harmony Station, humans," Ilara said, her words processed through their translation devices. "Please follow me to the welcome chamber." As they walked through the station's wide corridors, Sam noticed how other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some moved away quickly. Others whispered to companions while pointing. None approached. "They seem afraid of us," Maria whispered to Sam. "I noticed that too," he replied quietly. The welcome chamber was a large, circular room with tiered seating. Representatives from various species were already seated. When the humans entered, a noticeable hush fell over the gathering. A being with 4 arms and mottled green skin approached the central podium. "I am Council Leader Zorax. On behalf of the Coalition of Sentient Species, I welcome the Earth delegation." His tone was formal, but Sam detected an undercurrent of tension. Zorax continued. "For those unaware, humans are from a planet classified as a death world by our standards. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, dangerous wildlife, and significant geological instability." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Maria stepped forward. "Thank you for your welcome, Council Leader. We are honored to join this gathering and hope to establish friendly relations with all species present." A blue-skinned being that Sam recognized as the same species they had encountered 6 months ago stood up. "I am Ambassador Trell of the Zithrian Collective. We were the first to encounter humans." Trell's 4 eyes blinked nervously. "Our scans revealed disturbing anomalies in human biology. They possess redundant organs, a skeleton reinforced with calcium deposits, and an aggressive immune system that attacks foreign bodies. Their muscles are extraordinarily dense, and they can continue functioning despite injuries that would incapacitate any rational being." More murmurs, louder this time. Sam noticed Maria's diplomatic smile falter. Another alien stood, this one covered in what looked like purple feathers. Is it true that humans can regenerate damaged tissue without medical intervention? Before Alex could answer, another called out. We've heard humans can survive for days without water and weeks without food. Their planet has microorganisms that would cause plagues on most worlds, yet they live among them. The chamber erupted in voices. Sam exchanged worried glances with Maria and Alex. This wasn't the welcome they had expected. Zorax raised all four hands, silencing the room. We have much to discuss in the coming days. For now, let us allow our guests to rest after their journey. The formal summit will begin tomorrow. As they were led to their quarters, Sam spoke quietly to Maria. They're not just curious about us. They're afraid. Maria nodded slowly. And fear is a dangerous foundation for diplomacy. Dr. Alex Crawford tried not to feel like a lab specimen as 8 alien scientists stared at him. The science exchange room on Harmony Station was filled with equipment he didn't recognize. Screens displayed what looked like human biological data. Please extend your arm, Dr. Crawford, said Neela, a Trilaxian scientist with 6 limbs and skin that shifted between shades of green. Alex rolled up his sleeve and held out his arm. Neela touched a small device to his skin. Alex felt a slight pinch. Did that cause pain? Neela asked, blinking her large eyes. Just a little. Nothing significant, Alex replied. The aliens exchanged glances and made notes on their devices. Remarkable, said Grix, a short, stocky alien with rough orange skin. Your pain threshold is extraordinarily high compared to Coalition standards. Alex shrugged. It was just a small pinch. For most species, that level of tissue disruption would be quite uncomfortable, Neela explained. May I ask you some questions about human biology? That's why I'm here, Alex said with a smile. Our data indicates humans regularly consume substances that would be toxic to most Coalition species. Is this correct? Alex thought for a moment. Well, we do consume some things that might be harmful to others. Caffeine, for instance, or alcohol in moderation. And these are recreational poisons, asked another scientist, clearly confused. I wouldn't call them poisons exactly, Alex said. They have minor effects on our system that some find pleasant or useful. What about capsaicin? Neela asked. Our research indicates humans intentionally eat this defense chemical from plants. Oh, you mean spicy food? Yes, many humans enjoy that. It adds flavor to meals. The scientists looked disturbed. One of them, a tall being with feathery appendages, actually stepped back. You consume a chemical specifically evolved to prevent consumption. For pleasure, the feathery alien asked. Well, when you put it that way, it does sound strange, Alex admitted. But different cultures have different foods. Some like it spicy, some don't. Grix approached with another device. May we measure your muscle density, Dr. Crawford? Alex nodded. After several scans, the aliens conferred among themselves, speaking in their own languages before their translators caught up. Is something wrong? Alex asked. Not wrong, Neela said slowly. Just unexpected. Your muscle tissue is approximately 4 times denser than the average Coalition species. Combined with your skeletal structure, you could exert force that would shatter most beings' bones. Alex felt uncomfortable. We're not exceptionally strong compared to some Earth animals. But you evolved from predator species, said Grix. Most Coalition worlds developed sentient life from prey or non-predatory omnivores. A new alien entered the room. This one looked almost like a walking plant, with bark-like skin and leaf-like appendages. It carried a datapad. Dr. Crawford, I am Chief Medical Officer Vril. I've been reviewing your medical scans. Is it true that humans continue functioning after breaking bones? Well, it depends on the severity, Alex explained. But yes, we can often continue moving with fractures, especially in emergency situations. And humans can survive significant blood loss. Up to a point, yes. And your immune system actively attacks foreign bodies rather than managing them symbiotically. Alex nodded. That's how we fight disease. Vril turned to the other scientists. The implications are concerning. In conditions that would cause most species to shut down to preserve resources, humans continue functioning. They can operate while damaged, fight off microscopic threats aggressively, and endure chemical assaults that would incapacitate others. Alex frowned. You're making us sound like some kind of super soldiers. We're just adapted to Earth's conditions. Precisely, said Neela. And Earth's conditions would kill most of us within days. Your world shaped your species to survive what we would consider catastrophic. That adaptability is frightening. We're still just people, Alex insisted. We have the same hopes and fears as anyone. Do you? Vril asked quietly. Our psychological profiles suggest humans routinely take risks that other species would consider irrational. You seek out danger for recreation. You willingly endure pain for achievements. These are not traits the Coalition understands. Alex looked around at the concerned alien faces. For the first time, he truly realized how different humans were in the galactic community. Not superior, just different in ways that made others deeply uncomfortable. I think, Alex said carefully, we have a lot to learn from each other. The scientists nodded, but Alex noticed none of them moved any closer to him. Captain Sam Murphy rubbed his tired eyes as he listened to the trade representatives from the Medusan Confederation explain their complex exchange system. The meeting room was filled with delegates from 12 different species, all discussing potential trade agreements with Earth. 3 days into the Galactic Summit, and Sam was still trying to get used to the endless diplomatic talks. His security officer, Olivia Green, stood quietly by the door. Her alert eyes constantly scanned the room, a habit from years of military service. Sam had noticed that the alien delegates gave her an especially wide berth, perhaps sensing her combat training. A soft beep came from the environmental control panel near the door. Olivia glanced at it, then frowned. Captain, she said quietly, approaching Sam, the oxygen levels in this section are dropping. Before Sam could respond, the lights flickered. A moment later, a deep rumbling shook the station. What was that? Asked one of the Medusan delegates, their tentacle-like appendages waving anxiously. The station's AI voice came over the speakers. Warning. Life support failure detected in sections 12 through 17. All personnel evacuate immediately. Emergency protocols activated. The room erupted in chaos. Delegates rushed toward the doors, pushing and shoving in panic. Everyone stay calm. Sam shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Move in an orderly fashion to the evacuation points. But the aliens continued to push forward in fear. Sam exchanged a glance with Olivia, who nodded and moved to the door. Stop. Olivia's command voice froze everyone in place. Form a line. Move quickly but calmly. Follow the emergency lights to the evacuation pods. To Sam's surprise, the aliens obeyed. Perhaps it was the natural authority in Olivia's voice, or perhaps they were simply too shocked by the humans' calm demeanor to argue. As they moved into the corridor, Sam noticed the air was getting thinner. The temperature was dropping rapidly as well. Some of the smaller aliens were already showing signs of distress, their movements becoming sluggish. The nearest evacuation point is 2 sections away, Olivia reported, checking a station map on her tablet. We need to move faster. Sam nodded and turned to the group. Those who can move quickly, please help those who are struggling. Stay together. A loud hissing sound came from overhead. One of the air vents had ruptured, venting what little atmosphere remained in the section. Pressure dropping fast, Olivia warned. Sam could feel the effects now, the slight lightheadedness, the pressure in his ears. But years of space training had prepared him for such emergencies. He noticed the aliens were faring much worse, with several already collapsed on the floor. Change of plans, Sam said. Olivia, take point. I'll bring up the rear and carry those who can't make it. Without hesitation, Sam lifted two small, feathered aliens that had fallen behind. Each was about the size of a human child, but their bodies felt fragile in his arms, like birds. "You're carrying us," one of them asked weakly. "Just conserve your energy," Sam replied, following the group. As they reached a junction, Olivia stopped suddenly. "The route is blocked. There's been a structural collapse ahead." Through the viewport, Sam could see debris blocking the corridor to the evacuation point. On the other side of the blockage, a group of Tralaxian delegates were trapped, their blue faces pressed against the window of a sealed compartment. "They'll suffocate before emergency teams reach them," Olivia said grimly. Sam set down the aliens he was carrying. "Get our group to the secondary evacuation point. I'll help the Tralaxians." "Sir, that door is pressure sealed. You can't open it manually." Sam looked at the heavy metal door. "Watch me." Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "Be careful, Captain." As Olivia led the delegates away, Sam approached the sealed door. Through the small window, he could see the Tralaxians inside. Their movements were becoming sluggish as oxygen levels dropped. Sam grabbed the manual release lever and pulled. The door didn't budge. Taking a deep breath of the thinning air, Sam braced his feet against the wall and pulled with all his strength. Metal groaned. Sam's muscles burned with effort. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. With a final surge of strength, Sam felt something give. The door slid open a few inches, just enough. "Come on," he shouted to the Tralaxians. "Hurry." One by one, the blue-skinned aliens squeezed through the gap. The last one paused, staring at Sam with four wide eyes. "No mechanical being could force that door," the Tralaxian said. "No species we know could survive this pressure and still function." Sam managed a tired smile. "Just doing my job. Now let's get to safety." Sam Murphy sat alone in the small garden area of Harmony Station's medical wing. The air here was rich with oxygen released by strange, glowing plants. After the life support failure, he needed a moment of quiet. His muscles ached from forcing open that pressure door. The station's medical staff had been amazed he hadn't torn ligaments or broken bones. Their surprise at human resilience was becoming a familiar reaction. Voices drifted from behind a tall plant with wide blue leaves. Sam recognized the musical tones of Vargos's speech, followed by the deeper rumble of a Medusan. "Cannot allow them full access to Coalition technology," the Vargosi was saying. "You saw what happened during the emergency. One of them forced open a pressure door rated for 2 tons of resistance. With their physical capabilities and our technology, they could be unstoppable." Sam sat very still, listening carefully. "The preservers were right to be concerned," the Medusan replied. "Humans are too unpredictable. Did you see how they organized the evacuation? No panic, no hesitation. They function efficiently even when their lives are threatened. It isn't natural. The Council must be convinced to limit Earth's involvement. Perhaps a partial quarantine. Not enough. The human homeworld must be isolated completely. For the safety of the Coalition." The voices moved away, leaving Sam with a cold feeling in his stomach. He waited a few minutes, then quietly left the garden and headed straight to find Maria Lopez. He found her in the human delegation's meeting room, reviewing reports with Dr. Crawford. "We have a problem," Sam said, closing the door. "I just overheard something disturbing." He quickly explained what he'd heard. Maria's face grew serious. "This explains the resistance we've been facing in the trade negotiations. I thought it was just caution about a new species, but this sounds organized." "Who are these preservers they mentioned?" Alex asked. "I don't know, but I intend to find out." Maria tapped her tablet. "I've been talking with an avian researcher named Crit. He seems more open-minded about humans than most. He might know something." 2 hours later, they met Crit in a quiet corner of the station's science wing. The bird-like alien had brilliant purple feathers and intelligent eyes that darted nervously around the room. "I shouldn't be speaking with you about this," Crit said quietly. The preservers have supporters everywhere. What exactly are the preservers? Maria asked. Crit's feathers ruffled anxiously. A political faction within the coalition. They believe in preserving the current balance of power and protecting established species from evolutionary anomalies. Like humans, Sam said. Precisely. Your biology, your psychology, they don't fit the coalition's understanding of how sentient life should develop. Crit leaned closer. Most coalition species evolved on worlds with stable environments, minimal predators, and abundant resources. Your world. Earth is different. Alex finished. More challenging. Brutal, by our standards, Crit admitted. The preservers believe species from such environments are inherently aggressive and unpredictable. That's ridiculous, Maria protested. We've shown nothing but peaceful intentions. Crit's eyes focused on Sam. Yet one of your kind physically forced open a door that most species would need machinery to move. You continued functioning in an atmosphere that should have incapacitated you. These abilities frighten many in the coalition. Are you saying the life support failure wasn't an accident? Sam asked, realization dawning. Crit looked away. I have no proof. But the timing was convenient. It allowed them to observe human responses under stress. And now they have their evidence that you are potentially dangerous. So what happens next? Maria asked. The preservers will push for Earth's isolation from galactic affairs. They'll argue that humans need generations of cultural adjustment before being allowed full coalition membership. Sam's jaw tightened. They want to keep us contained. Like a dangerous animal, Alex muttered. Crit spread his wings slightly. The avian equivalent of a shrug. I believe this approach is misguided. Different doesn't mean dangerous. But many species fear what they don't understand. And no one seems to understand humans, Maria said quietly. That's the problem, Crit replied. And the preservers are using that fear to advance their agenda. Unless you can change the coalition's perception, Earth will be cut off from interstellar civilization before it has a chance to join it. Sam looked at his colleagues. Then we need to change their perception. Starting now. This is either brilliant or completely crazy, Maria Lopes said as she reviewed Captain Murphy's proposal. The human delegation had gathered in their quarters to discuss a plan to counter the preservers' efforts. Rather than retreating from the growing tension, Sam wanted to face it head-on. We can't change who we are, Sam said firmly. But we can show them that our differences are valuable, not threatening. Dr. Alex Crawford nodded slowly. A series of joint exercises to demonstrate human problem-solving and cooperation. It might work. Or it might confirm their worst fears about us, Olivia Green cautioned. Sam looked at each of them. We need to try something. Otherwise, Earth gets isolated before we've had a fair chance. The next morning, Sam presented their proposal to the Coalition Council. Many delegates looked skeptical, but Zorax, the council leader, seemed intrigued. You wish to organize cooperative activities between humans and other species? Zorax asked, his forearms making a gesture of consideration. Yes, Sam replied. Cultural and scientific exchanges where we can work together and learn from each other. After some debate, the council approved. Over the next few days, the station buzzed with a new energy as the human delegation organized 3 types of exchanges. Dr. Crawford set up problem-solving workshops where mixed species teams tackled scientific puzzles. Captain Murphy arranged cultural sharing sessions, and Olivia Green, despite concerns from some delegates, organized physical cooperation exercises. In one workshop, Alex watched as a human engineer named Paul worked with representatives from 4 different species to design an emergency shelter. The other species approached the problem with highly specialized thinking, each focusing on one aspect. Paul, however, kept suggesting compromises and combining ideas. Humans don't think like us, a Trilaxian scientist told Alex afterward. They make connections we wouldn't consider. It's unsettling, but useful. In the cultural sessions, Maria noticed how humans formed bonds quickly with aliens, sharing personal stories and asking questions about families and homes. Many coalition species found this direct approach uncomfortable at first. "Your kind forms trust relationships in hours that would take my species months," a Vargosa diplomat commented. "How can you be so open with strangers?" "It's how we build communities," Maria explained. "On Earth, circumstances often force people who don't know each other to work together quickly." The physical exercises revealed the most striking differences. In one activity, teams had to navigate an obstacle course while linked together. The human participants instinctively adjusted their strength to match their alien partners and communicated constantly. "They adapt to our limitations without complaint," Crit told Olivia after completing the course. "Most species would demand partners match their natural abilities." By the fifth day of exchanges, attitudes seemed to be shifting. More delegates were engaging with the humans, asking questions instead of avoiding them. Even some known preserver supporters appeared less hostile. Then came the sabotage. During a joint engineering exercise, alarms suddenly blared. A containment field around a small amount of radioactive material used for testing had failed. The material wasn't immediately lethal, but dangerous with prolonged exposure. "Everyone evacuate," ordered the station safety officer. But Paul, the human engineer, saw that the containment system could be repaired quickly if someone went into the affected area. Without hesitation, he grabbed a basic shield and rushed in despite warnings. "Humans can withstand more radiation than most of us," he shouted. "I can fix this before it spreads." The aliens watched in horror as Paul worked quickly, exposing himself to radiation that would seriously harm most coalition species. Within minutes, he had restored the containment field, preventing a station-wide alert. As medical staff treated Paul for radiation exposure, Sam overheard two delegates talking. "Did you see that? He risked severe cellular damage without orders. Irrational, dangerous, but he saved the station from contamination." The preservers were right. Humans are unpredictable, but wrong about isolating them. We may need their kind of unpredictability. Sam smiled slightly. Perhaps they were making progress after all. But as he turned away, he noticed Counselor Zorax deep in conversation with a group of serious-looking officials. Their expressions suggested the debate over humanity's place in the galaxy was far from settled. A small crowd gathered in the main docking bay of Harmony Station as the Earth diplomatic shuttle arrived. Captain Murphy and his team stood at the front, watching as the doors opened to reveal Ambassador Lisa Bennett. The tall woman with short gray hair walked with confidence, her eyes quickly assessing the situation. "Captain Murphy," she greeted with a nod. "I came as soon as I received your reports." "Thank you for coming, Ambassador," Sam replied. "The situation is growing more complex by the day." As they walked through the station corridors, Maria updated the ambassador on their progress and the challenges they faced with the preservers. Lisa listened carefully, asking occasional questions. Earth's historians and scientists have been working around the clock, Lisa said when Maria finished. "We've been studying the coalition records you sent back. What we found is remarkable." Hours later, the full human delegation gathered in their private meeting room. Ambassador Bennett connected her tablet to the room's display system. "What I'm about to share may change everything," she began. "Our research teams discovered patterns in the evolutionary histories of coalition species. At first, we thought it was coincidence, but the evidence became overwhelming." She displayed charts showing genetic and evolutionary timelines for various alien species. Every coalition species evolved on worlds with minimal environmental pressure, Lisa explained. Their development follows unnaturally smooth progressions. No evolutionary dead ends, no major adaptations to sudden changes. Dr. Crawford leaned forward, studying the data. "That's statistically impossible. Evolution doesn't work that way." "Exactly," Lisa nodded. "And then we found these references scattered throughout ancient coalition records." She brought up images of ancient texts with words highlighted. Architects, shapers, gardeners, We believe most coalition species were guided in their evolution by an advanced race called the Architects, Lisa said. These beings apparently visited thousands of worlds between 50 and 100,000 years ago, selecting species with potential for intelligence. They engineered them, Olivia asked. More subtle than that. They created stable environments, removed predators, and made small genetic adjustments over thousands of generations. They guided these species toward specialization and predictability. Sam frowned. But not humans. No, Lisa confirmed. Earth shows no evidence of architect intervention. Our evolution was natural, shaped by Earth's challenging environment. We adapted through struggle, predation, and survival. That's why we're so different, Maria murmured. Why we seem strange to them. It explains so much, Alex added. Their fear of us isn't just xenophobia. We truly are fundamentally different from what they understand as normal sentient development. The room fell silent as they considered the implications. What do we do with this information? Sam finally asked. Lisa straightened her shoulders. I plan to present it to the Coalition Council tomorrow. They deserve to know the truth about their own origins. And ours. The next morning, the council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Word had spread that the human ambassador had an important announcement. Lisa stood calmly at the center of the chamber, surrounded by alien delegates. Honorable representatives of the coalition, she began. Earth thanks you for welcoming us into these discussions. In the spirit of openness, I wish to share a discovery our scientists have made. Over the next 20 minutes, Lisa presented Earth's findings about the architects and their influence on coalition species. The chamber grew increasingly tense as she spoke. Some delegates whispered urgently to each other. Others sat in shocked silence. Humans evolved without this guidance, Lisa concluded. Our biology, our psychology, our approach to problems, all were shaped by natural selection on a world that challenged us at every turn. We are not better or worse than you, simply different in our development. The council erupted into chaos. Some delegates shouted denials. Others demanded more evidence. A few simply left the chamber. Council leader Zorax raised all four arms for silence. These are disturbing claims, Ambassador Bennett. If true, they have profound implications for our understanding of ourselves. From the back of the chamber, a tall figure in a dark robe stood. The human speaks falsehoods. The voice belonged to Ranks, a known preserver leader. These claims are a deception to justify their dangerous nature. The preservers call for an immediate vote on human quarantine. The chamber divided into shouting factions. Sam looked at Lisa with concern. I knew this would be controversial, she said quietly. But they needed to hear it. Suddenly, the station's emergency sirens began to wail. The council chamber shook as a deep rumbling sound echoed through Harmony Station. Red emergency lights flashed along the walls. The station's AI voice spoke with unusual urgency. Warning. Unknown vessel approaching. Defensive systems compromised. All personnel proceed to emergency shelters. Council leader Zorax turned to the station's security chief. What is happening? The security chief, a reptilian being with scaled skin, checked his datapad. His eyes widened. Something massive just appeared near the station. It's huge and ancient. The main view screen activated, showing a massive structure approaching the station. It wasn't a ship in any conventional sense, but rather a collection of geometric shapes that seemed to shift and reorganize themselves. Strange energy patterns pulsed across its surface. That's architect technology, gasped a Trilaxian scientist. It matches the descriptions in our oldest records. As everyone watched in horror, a beam of light shot from the structure and scanned the station. Anomaly detected, boomed a mechanical voice that echoed through every speaker. Evolutionary divergence identified. Correction protocols initiated. Ambassador Bennett turned to Crit. What does that mean? The avian researcher's feathers were flacked with fear. The legends say the architects left guardians to maintain their work. to eliminate unexpected evolutionary paths. It's targeting humans, Sam realized. We're the anomaly. A second energy beam lanced out from the architect's structure, striking the station with enough force to make the artificial gravity flicker. Warning lights flashed across all control panels. Station integrity compromised, announced the AI. Estimated time to critical failure, 15 minutes. Panic erupted in the council chamber. Delegates rushed toward the exits, but Captain Murphy stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. We need to disable that thing before it destroys the station. The Preserver Leader ranks laughed bitterly. And how do you propose to do that? That is architect technology, beyond any of our capabilities. Alex studied the readings on a nearby console. It's targeting the station's power core. If we can disrupt its targeting systems, we might buy enough time for evacuations. The auxiliary control room has a manual override for the station's defense grid, Olivia said. If we can redirect power there, we might be able to establish a shield. That control room is in the damaged section, Zorax objected. The radiation levels are lethal. Sam looked at his team. Lethal for most species, not necessarily for humans. Understanding dawned in Maria's eyes. Our radiation tolerance, our ability to function under stress. Exactly, Sam nodded. The very traits they fear might save them now. Minutes later, Sam, Alex, and Olivia raced through the station's damaged corridors. Emergency barriers had sealed off the most dangerous sections, but the humans forced them open manually. They moved through areas where radiation warnings flashed, their bodies able to withstand exposure that would kill most coalition species. In the auxiliary control room, Alex worked quickly to reroute power while Sam and Olivia manually realigned the defense grid. This is a one-way trip, Olivia said quietly as they worked. Even humans can't survive this radiation level for long. Sam nodded grimly. But we can survive long enough. Through the viewport, they could see evacuation pods launching from the station. Most of the coalition delegates were escaping, but the architect structure was still attacking, its energy beams growing more intense. Ready, Alex called, redirecting all power to defenses on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Now. Energy surged through the station's systems. A shield flickered into existence around Harmony Station, deflecting the next attack. But the strain was too much for the damaged systems. We've bought them time, Sam said as warnings flashed across all screens. But we need to do more. We need to shut that thing down completely. I have an idea, Alex said. If we overload the power core and direct the energy burst at the architect structure, we might disrupt its systems. That would destroy this section of the station, Olivia pointed out. Yes, Alex agreed, but the evacuation pods would survive. Sam looked at his team, then nodded. Do it. As Alex worked on the final calculations, Sam opened a communication channel to the evacuation fleet. This is Captain Murphy. We're going to overload the core to disable the architect weapon. Get clear of the station. Sam, no. It was Ambassador Bennett's voice. There must be another way. There isn't time, Sam replied calmly. This is what humans do, Lisa. We take the impossible risks when they're necessary. The last thing the fleeing coalition delegates saw was a brilliant flash as the station's power core released its energy directly at